NBA playoff best ball, a beginner's guide. That's what we're going to serve up for you guys today. Similar to the baseball show last week, I have yet to draft one of these NBA playoff best ball teams, but I love this format. Anyone who is familiar with the NFL playoff best ball format is already going to be ahead as far as their prep for this. And then we're going to drill down, get into the specific playoff odds, how you should build teams, how you can have a path to first place, and all of the various nuances and intricacies of this contest. The dance on Underdog, there's also the waltz. The dance has a $50,000 top prize. So plenty to discuss here and dive into as we get ready for playoff best ball. I'm Pete with John and Nez, aka the Badge Bros. Let's do it. All right, fellas, proving our multi-sport athlete bona fides here. Had a lot of fun with the baseball show last week, and I'm going to feel slightly less out of my depth today because I have been doing daily NBA stuff, so a little better feel for these players. And also, like I said, with NFL playoff basketball, which there are some similarities there. So, Nez, John, how are you guys feeling about NBA playoff basketball right now?
I think I'm feeling a little bit better. Got my feet wet this morning. I was kind of in your camp, Pete, there, where I was spending so much time in the daily streets, so much time in the baseball streets that I, wasn't fully focused on this one. But I know Nez has been in there since the jump, and he was in every lobby I was in this morning as well. So I think we got an expert alongside us.
I've been drafting quite a bit. Yeah, I think I'm up to 50 dance drafts done right now. I really wanted to get to 50 during the NBA All-Star break, but that was just simply not feasible during that time for me. But I've been chipping away at the dance, and I'm definitely going to be kind of off putting my NBA daily process on auto a little bit more to get into these dance streets more, just because NBA dailies much easier to auto. I don't like to auto them, but they are much easier to auto than the dance, which you should never, ever, ever auto the dance.
No, and that is one of the similarities to NFL playoff basketball. Like autoing those is a death sentence. Yeah, maybe you might build a team that has a good shot of advancing out of round one, but you are almost certainly dead on arrival to win the contest.
Yeah, 100%.
Let me just pull up the contest dynamics here. I know a lot of you watching maybe have already drafted a bunch of these, are well familiar with how this works, but I think it'll be helpful to everyone to kind of start from the bottom and work our way up. Like I said, there is the waltz here at the higher price point, but for our purposes, we will just be focusing today on the dance, which has a $10 price point, $50K to first. Like I mentioned here, they are 10 rounds. If you've been doing the dailies, you're used to, just having 6 rounds there. But this is going to go the full 10 rounds. You can kind of see the breakdown here. But John and Nez, maybe kind of kick us off here with just the overall dynamics of how this tournament works. And as I kind of scroll through, we have these rounds: round one, conference semifinals, conference finals, and NBA finals. That is pretty analogous to how the NFL one worked as well.
Yeah, I mean, one little wrinkle with round one there is the play-in tourney there. So, we're going to be going 10 deep instead of going, whatever it is in the NFL, 8, 7 deep or whatever, or even what it was in the NBA in the past, going 8 deep. Those back end 4 on both sides aren't solidified, and we won't know them because they'll play a play-in tournament to get there. Now, do we really want to be staking our hopes on the shell of the 76ers right now, or the Chicago Bulls? I mean, probably not. But it is just an interesting little wrinkle of not fully knowing or grasping the player pool. Like some of these teams that are in the picture right now might only play 1 game, which is a little different there. The one thing that jumped out to me in a big way was the 2 out of 6 and then 1 out of 10 this year. Yeah, Nez, what just kind of, I'd love to pick your brain on your thoughts about that dynamic.
Yeah, I think it was the same as last year with the 110, 1-6. And I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Does it change how I'm drafting? No. Do I understand why it goes 110 to 1-6? No. Also, maybe it just I don't maybe it's just the way the math works. I'm not sure, but I know that last year that kind of like lended itself to some interesting semifinal pods, because 1 out of 10, you're gonna have a lot of dead teams. I mean, the way the NBA playoffs work, you teams play uneven number of series, so some teams become more valuable than others. And then one thing to note with the qualifiers, round 1, 2 out of 6, easy to qualify. The play-in tournaments, just to reiterate, do not count for round 1.
Oh, sorry.
Just to make sure that is understood for those who are uninitiated.
Right. And the reason it's important is because some of those teams who will be in the playing game will not make, the round of, 16 teams. And so those might have some really attractive players on it, where you're trying to say, do I take on the risk of them not making the tournament altogether? But if they do, holy cow, I could have kind of a monster, team on my hand. And we'll get into more of the specific teams who might kind of fit that bill as we go on. The one thing you mentioned there that I think is a huge, huge difference of NFL, where everyone is playing the same amount of games within each round. That is not the case for NBA, where we're going to have a best of 7 series where you could have a sweep where a team only plays 4 games and you could have one that goes to the wire. And the difference between players getting 4 games or 7 games is massive as it pertains to how these contests work.
Yeah, and I mean, not knowing the matchups or being able to forecast the matchups this far out either, but we can have a sense of like what potentially some of these game environments or series environments would look like based on playing like the daily games. Like, for instance, it's not going to be valued equal if you get 5 games from the Magic, who play game totals that are in the 205s, 209s every single night, than if we end up getting 5 games of the Kings, for instance, who are both like, one's a 7 seed over here and one's a 8, 9, 10 over here. If you end up getting a series from those are going to look completely different. And like 4 games in one spot can actually be more valuable than 5 or 6 in another spot, and vice versa. So yeah, it's a very interesting wrinkle there.
So Nez, one of the things, people who are familiar with NFL playoff best ball kind of understand is that you're essentially reverse engineering your lineup, thinking through the lens of either the finals or even the conference finals. And most people are well aware, when you show up, you want to at least be able to fill out a starting lineup at minimum there. It's probably going to be hard to win if not. And you can see here, we have 1 big, 2 flex, 1 guard, and then 5 bench spots and a wing here. How do you think about that for NBA? Is your goal to have a certain amount of players in the finals or even conference finals who are still live?
Yeah, definitely. I don't think you can copy and paste the strategy from the gauntlet into the dance, where like in the gauntlet, 2 years ago, like Mecole Hardman was like a guy you had to have. Like it was just a lone guy, Juwan Jennings, another guy, like didn't score a lot of fantasy points, but you never know. He could catch a touchdown in one game in the Super Bowl. We don't have those guys in the NBA. So it really does kind of limit the player pool as far as the matchups you're trying to build. If you are building for the NBA Finals, which we all are, certain bench guys that are only playing 20 minutes that don't have high ceilings, you just will not have a chance of winning if that is who you're counting on to put up points for you. So it helps building, because if you keep that in mind, you're not wasting picks on those type of players, and instead you're helping to advance your team into the semis, into the quarterfinals and the semifinals, because you can use those picks on high scoring players that can maybe advance to round 2 with you. They win their series and now they're alive to help you advance once again. So I'm kind of a dick in my drafts, because like I'm trying to advance. Like I have my finals teams, and now I'm trying to bully teams in every subsequent round after that.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good point there, Nez, that it's when we're looking for to steal Davis's bit of the most important man in the world, Justice Hill, and like shit like that. Like we're not looking for that in NBA. Like maybe we can tell ourselves a story about Peyton Pritchard because he has a scoring ceiling.
He's graduated from that class.
Right. Yeah, exactly. He's graduated from the Mecole Hardmans of the world, like maybe that. But it is crazy because you'll get to the back end of these drafts, and like one thing you'll notice with the position scarcity thing is wing is just so effing thin. Like we're so accustomed to playing positionless basketball on Underdog because it's always super flex, but wing is so thin, and you'll get to the final round and you'll be like, should I tack on, Aaron Wiggins to my OKC stack and maybe he plays 18, 19 minutes or whatever, or should I just take Kevin Durant? And it's like, well, that's a guy we're accustomed to clicking on every damn day who's going to play 42 minutes in postseason series. So it becomes a really delicate balancing act because you have to push through a 1 of 10 gauntlet in that second round. And, Kevin Durant putting up points at wing is really going to matter if they get there.
Yeah. And the interesting thing about even that example here, I do think goes back to kind of the 2 of 6, 1 of 10 thing, right? Where am I correct? Are the Suns not even in the playoff picture right now?
They're like 10, 11 in
right.
the West.
So like you're almost having to hit like a 3-leg parlay with that pick, not to get like too into the weeds of just being like, okay, Kevin Durant and the Suns make it. He helps me advance, but then they also need to win that game too, because 2 of 6 is going to be the easiest round for you to advance of all of these. You have a 1 in 3 chance, assuming all of the teams are average in your pool. So that I do think kind of maybe starts to inform a little bit of like, we call them right with NFL, the advance rate pieces. I do think that's kind of an interesting consideration of like some of those fringe plan game guys seem a little less attractive to me, just knowing that where they're going to help me the most is the easiest, week to advance in this tournament.
Yeah, it definitely. If we could know, obviously, which one of these one of these wings specifically on this topic of conversation is going to be in round 2, that would make our lives a lot easier. But we're not sure yet. But
yeah,
I am very, very adamant on especially the type of teams that I am targeting in the dance. Adamant on like advance rate wings and trying to have wings to put up points in every single round. And if you're building a team like the Cleveland Cavaliers, one of the favorites to win the NBA title, your wing options on the Cavs are it's slim to none. It's crazy. You really do. If you're coming into the dance blind and you really want to take part in the dance and you want to draft and you want sweats, you need to analyze the wing position and who is available for what team. You're just drafting somebody to maybe put up like 60 total points in the finals if you're for this Cavaliers example.
Is there a parallel? Because I'm trying to think of like a good example in NFL, but obviously like a team like say the Chiefs, right, who were pretty weak running back wise relative. There's a lot of ambiguity. And you're like, if I'm going to play the Chiefs, like in my perfect world, I'll play it through Mahomes, the pass catchers. And then like say on the other side, I'm playing for an NFC, Super Bowl with the Lions, and I'll grab both Gibbs and Montgomery and essentially get this like hydra of putting together the perfect Super Bowl matchup that actually lines up to the team's positional strengths. Like with this Cavs example, like, is it basically saying if you play the Cavs to the finals, you're going to have to get your wing play from someone in the Western Conference?
More or less. I mean, I did a couple this morning here where I found myself in this predicament, and I actually went to Eastern Conference for wing when I did OKC stuff, and did like Orlando and did Franz and Paulo together with the OKC stuff because I found a similar problem with OKC because J-Dub goes on the other side of the board, and then with the Cavs stuff, as you were alluding to, getting the guards and the bigs, and then doing wings from the Timberwolves and just doing Randall and Jaden McDaniels in there with Ant as well, and doing like 3 in that. It's a lot less onslaughty, I think, just like from a macro than football is too, because you really do need usable scores, especially in that second week there. So yeah, I mean, just building a finals roster of 5, like you can just go like 3 as your core team and then stack a bunch of 2s around it. Like you don't have to even go 4 with the Cleveland guys or 5 with the Cleveland guys.
Yeah. Why don't we kind of expand on that, Nez, as far, because I do think most of us coming over to this with NFL playoff best ball brain are thinking of it through the team lens. You grab, Shea here, you grab Jokic, you grab Tatum, like all of a sudden I want the rest of the Thunder on that team. I want the rest of the good Nuggets. Unfortunately, other people want the rest of the Nuggets, the rest of the Celtics, the rest of the Thunder, as anyone who has seen people get tagged in the Discord who are blowing up their perfectly made teams can indicate. So how do you balance that dynamic, Des? Is it in a perfect world, like if you take Shea, like let's just say completely perfect world, you want Jalen Williams, you want Chet, you want Hart, like you would want all four of those guys on a team if you could just have them, right?
Yeah, it'd be great. I think the problem comes where, like, okay, you take those four, have fun building out a Pacers Thunder final, because you're not getting any usable Cavalier if you just go out and get those guys, and you're lucky if J-Dub falls back to you, by the way. And if you take all four of those guys, your usable Cavalier, if you're lucky, is Jared Allen. So okay, cool. Like you're doing that, which was, honestly, if I had those four and Jared Allen, I would honestly take that. That would be considered like a nutted start or a nutted finals matchup. Cleveland and the Thunder is one of the hardest pairs right now, just because of how expensive they are. So yeah, it's tough because if you start off with those Thunder early, the East pieces that you're left with are teams that just have very, very little shot at making the finals. So it's a problem. And how do you solve for it? Well, maybe you sacrifice that Chet Holmgren pick for an East pick, so that way you can then try to build out ancillary East around that. If you end up landing that Shea J-Dub start, you may just have to like go East. I mean, I haven't quite figured it out because I don't get Shea J-Dub that often.
So John, I was just going to say, because the thing that makes it hard, right, is because like people in NFL are used to this dynamic, but you can always add the Noah Gray, the various fringe guys. You can grab, Tim Patrick, and it's like not a dumb thing. It's actually a really smart thing that you're trying to do. But like the equivalence here, Alex Caruso, not the content creator, the basketball player here, like the odds of him being the guy you need, the most interesting man in the world in the NBA Finals, is like so slim to none based on like how many points he's going to score, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's an outside chance that he knocks down a couple threes and gets a couple stocks, and he's out there for a defensive role. But like his ceiling's like 28 fantasy points with 21 minutes or something like that, right? And it'd be like an extreme outlier. So yeah, I mean that's where you come down to the debates of like those tail end draft slots where it's like, yeah, man, your OKC stack that you started with might only have two pieces, and you're actually building like your East team as an underdog, whatever. But I wouldn't be so quick to write off the potential of like some of these underdog teams and stuff like that. Like it's not crazy to see upsets in the NBA. I mean, like this is a far more projectable sport, and the upper echelon talent does. The true one seeds do seem to find their ways through or whatever. But like last year, we had a 6 upset a 2. We had, the Mavs upset a 1 and make it to the finals. So like if you do hit right with like those back end superstars that are underpriced right now and building out a secondary stack like that, I think that's a fun way to do it. So one of the ways that I was gravitating to it was just playing the hits with like the Clippers stuff. Like I think the Clippers are low-key underrated. I think the West is way more wide open than the East, and you can get a full Clippers stack from round 6 onward of guys that are, close to round 1 or 2 talents in every daily draft we play. So, I mean, you could paint the same narrative for the Rockets. You could paint the same narrative. Basically for the West is far more wide open is kind of a lazy way of saying it.
So Nez, when you mentioned you're already about 50 drafts deep, like clearly prioritizing some early drafting here relative to when this contest is going to lock, which is, let me confirm here, April 19th. What are the things you're looking for? Are you anticipating kind of rises in ADP? Are you trying to get combos that you just think won't be available in another month and a half?
Yeah, definitely. And for me, it's prioritizing the Celtics and the Cavaliers. I don't think there's a team that can rival them. I was wishful thinking that the Knicks could do it. Maybe they still can. Maybe I'm a little bit down on them just because they're on like a 3-game losing streak right now or whatever it is. But Cavs and Celtics are just giga wagons. And I'm not so sure anybody has a chance to beat them. Now, Bucks have Giannis and Dame, so like in a playoff series, those two can always like catch fire, make something happen. From my vantage point, the Cavs and Celtics are just like on a complete other echelon from these East teams that when you build West first, meaning, take Jokic or take Shea, it's really hard to build teams that I feel good about. So I like to, I'm prioritizing the best way possible to build out these Celtics and Cavalier teams in the dance right now.
Dude, I got two little micro questions like that I was recognizing when I was doing it today. Was I gravitated to building Bucks because filling the wing position felt so important with Giannis, and I did feel like they had a decent chance, and you can get all four Bucks with like the last two pieces being like super cheap. You know what I mean? So that was like one thing I was doing like Giannis, Luka, hoping Braun comes back, something like that, and then tacking on, because you can get Dame in like the third or fourth round. So I really liked that kind of like build from the not like to juxtapose against you, but like as a counter to it. And then I got another question associated with the West stuff at the front of the board. Is there a bull case for taking Jokic 101 because it's Joker and because the wings will come back to you every damn time, whereas the SGA wing most likely will not, or at least, maybe he comes back to you like 20% of the time, but you can get Denver ×4 every single time if you want it. I'm not saying that Shea shouldn't be the 101. All I'm saying is I prefer starting drafts with Jokic and Tatum more than starting with Shea. Like it's such, you have so much more fun doing it. You build better teams by starting that way. So like, I don't think it's crazy. Like I've started Tatum 101 and had the time of my life. Jokic 101, like you said, is easy because he has two wings that start and will be playing close to 40 minutes a game. And completely mush, but we're doing content, trying to put out good advice for people. Aaron Gordon is like one of the most underdrafted players in the dance right now, and he's getting like 35 minutes a game now. He was hurt all season. Now he's back and getting ramped up, and he's a wing, super valuable. You're going to have him to complete those Nuggets teams. You just don't have that luxury starting off with the Thunder. Not to say the Thunder are bad picks. It's just so much harder, and I think that there's something to say about that. I wouldn't. Sorry, Mike's just alluding in the chat there that Tatum 101 is Giger Brain. Like, I don't think I'd do the Tatum 101 though, because I want my Tatum teams to have a chance at Jalen.
So Jalen has an ADP of 17.7. So you're saying that if you say you were able to sneak like a Tatum at 4 team, maybe you get Jaylen Brown coming back to you in the second kind of thing.
Yeah. That was kind of like my counter. Like, I like the Jokic stuff because I know the Denver stuff comes back every time.
People are willing to take a one-off Jaylen Brown in the way they're not willing to necessarily take an early plunge on Jamal Murray, is what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. Yeah, okay. Yeah, he's not wrong.
Yeah. And I think the other kind of interesting thing about it, and I think how you're doing it, Nez, makes sense too. Like, if you're drafting this early, you are trying to get some combos, or like say the market gets even more confident that it's Cleveland in Boston, and then that stuff gets tougher. Whereas once we know the full playoff brackets, then we could do our exercise like we did for NFL, right? Where it's like, hey, give us 2 teams, or we'll randomize it, and then we'll just build for that. And then you can kind of get onto some unique paths, like once the market is established. But right now it does seem like a good time to leverage a little IKB. Like, these are the teams I think are going to get there, and I want to build every version of that I can.
100%. And I think there's some West teams, some West stacks that are just like hilariously cheap. And, it reminds me, Nick made a comment a while ago, like the Lakers run 2 years ago when LeBron and AD and D'Angelo and Reeves were like, it was the first time they made the run. They went to the Western Conference Finals. We did a show, us three, with Zakarian and John Boy Beats way back when. And I was like, man, the Lakers are just too cheap. And you can, and then that ended up becoming the Western Conference Finals. There are so many West teams right now that have shots. Like John said, I fully agree. The West feels wide open. You can tell yourself a story about a lot of these West teams, and so many of these teams are just like beyond free. Maybe that's a stretch, but like it's easy. They are easy to stack with your East stacks.
Mm-hmm. And outside of Memphis, like all of them have some wing depth that you can get to. You know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's one of the best parts.
Yeah.
So what? I mean, Ned, you mentioned kind of feeling strongly about the Cavs and Celtics, and not really being able to see an obvious path to them getting knocked off. Like, how deep does this Western Conference go to you as far as like teams you could realistically see making the conference finals?
Counting right now. So it depends on the Mavericks' health. If the Mavericks are fully healthy, they're included. It's like 8 or 9 deep.
Wow.
Like honestly, like I have reservations about the Lakers, but like they're a great team. They're playing great basketball right now. I'm nervous about them. I mean, honestly, the Rockets I don't feel confident about, but like pretty much every other team on here, other than the Kings, I feel fine building out a stack for.
Yeah, I fully agree with you, Nez. At least the Kings are fun, though. Like, you know, the Kings kind of suck to build out because they have no wings. Like if Levine was like a wing or something, they'd be a lot more fun to tack on, like Sabonis Levine at the end or something. You know?
Yeah. God, that's rough.
Yeah. Like if DeRozan, like what DeMar's a guard, I don't know about that. Like too, right? Like. If they had wing eligibility at the back end there, that would be a pretty fun last cheeky stack for a pace up, you know, one series kind of thing.
So if I'm reading between the lines here, Nez, like it seems like the dominant kind of strategy, at least right now, is you load up on Celtics and Cavs when you can. And then are you just kind of mixing and matching with that Rolodex of Western teams that go 7 or 8 deep and just saying, hey, I know any of these teams can make it. Let me build the best version of, like, I have to isolate the pool somehow, and I'm going to isolate it on the Eastern and then just cycle through those Western teams.
100%. And the fact that they're so affordable, I can build more than one finals outcome with these teams that I think have a chance. So I'm giving myself multiple outs every time I draft, and I'm building strong teams that can advance and take down first all at the same time.
The other thing that's nuts is like you could also throw the Suns in the equation because they're a game back of the Kings, or they were last night. I guess Kings won last night. Like you could just do like Booker and Durant with your last 2 picks. Like that's kind of crazy. Like when you just think
it is crazy. I have I don't consider the Suns even likely to make the playoffs, but they can, and those are 2 fantasy monsters. So that point being said, it's kind of crazy.
Nez, I really like your point about like building East first and then tacking on West. I do think that's like kind of optimal, but I do think there is one kind of like chalky start on the right-hand side of the board that isn't fully chalk yet that I think should be, and it should just be Luka and Braun at the 6-7 over and over again.
You think people should be doing that?
Yeah, like just the scarcity at wing. Like instead of taking like J-Dub and a one-off and then hoping that you get J-Dub and Hartenstein and whatever, like you're not going to beat SGA teams with like J-Dub and Hartenstein in the finals anyways. So just take Luka and Braun and then figure out a plan in the East. And then usually Reeves falls too because nobody wants to just take one off Reeves, except for fucking T-Bear this morning in our draft for some reason. Took one off Reeves at 13. Pritchard. Yep. I have no idea why. But but like just in general, I'd just be like,
and to allow me to go down the rabbit hole for a second, doing Lakers plus East, when you think about it, nobody other than like there may be like a handful of drafts done before today where teams got Luka and LeBron paired with like really good East pieces. You're from this point on, you're not really going to see that. So think about the teams that you are facing. If the Lakers make the finals and you're building out LeBron and Luka, you're probably going to need dust ball East pieces from those players to complete a starting lineup, and plus Austin Reeves. So you're going to need like 2 more dust ball players to go along with them. That is one of the and there's a few scenarios where like, to like completely, backtrack on what I said earlier, which I do continue to harp on. There are certain matchups where you are going to need these lesser scoring players, especially on the East side, to complete a finals team, a finals starting lineup. And this is one of them. And this is where I think you can be okay taking some dust ball East pieces, because like, who else is going to have LeBron and Luka in the finals, and who are they going to have paired with them? You know what I'm saying? So I think this is just one of the scenarios where it's okay to do that.
It was the first thing that I isolated as well, Nez, and I loved it because you could do it with Giannis too. And you could like it's really hard to get Braun to fall, but I got him to fall in one room because someone was like just capitulating to the Lakers guy. So I started like 3 drafts with Luka, Giannis, and just hoping that I could get him to fall. And the other thing is, if you get boxed out at wing in general, you have a fallback of Rui in the 10th for free.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's like you can play it like 3 Lakers and then just tack on Rui. Anyways.
So to be more exact with this, Nez, what is the number of teams represented on most of your teams? Do you have any teams where there's just 2 teams where you're doing like a 5 and 5, or and are you never going more than say 4 teams and you're like, I just want to nail the conference finals? Like, where's that band for you?
4 to 6 teams. I could do like 2 main teams, and then I could have 7 players of 2 teams and then 3 one-offs. Like, I've done something like that before. So I would say anywhere from like, I guess you could even say 3 to 6. 3, like, I don't think I've done 3 yet, but like I could probably build a team of only 3 teams and like it anywhere from 3 to 6.
So in that one you did with the duos and then 3 one-offs, you wouldn't be able to field a full starting lineup in the finals, right?
No, I would, because I would have 7 teammates in that finals. 7 players from a finals matchup, and then 3 one-offs. So it's a little bit of overkill.
No, sorry. I meant like the number of teams represented on a roster. And so I thought you meant
3 teams, 3 to 6 teams on one singular roster. I think is how I would label it.
Yeah. And which is essentially like in NFL, like it was viable to build 5v5s, like especially with the teams that were really deep. That's just like the way the ADP landscape, the scoring works, all of the, the games and that kind of more iterations adding up. Like it's just too hard to pull that off in NBA.
100%. 100%.
Yeah. Let's see. You guys tell me, what is, we can drill down a little bit more. What else is interesting or should people know about before they dive into some of these?
Well, I mean, do you have a, wing is just crazy weak. So you need to really just like type in teams, look at the players that are available, and then see like what you're going to have to do in certain matchups. And I think using Cavs and Thunder is a good example, because there's one good wing there, and it's J-Dub. And getting J-Dub, like getting a good 5 teammates from Thunder and Cavs together is really hard. It's really hard. I've tried it. It's difficult. So that tells me it's going to be hard to put 5 of like the best Cavs and Thunder together on the same team. If it's hard, it's going to be hard to advance it. If there's only a few, you have to assume like 90% of them that are getting built are dying before they get to the finals. So in a Thunder Cavs final, the winner could have Aaron Wiggins starting at wing. It could have DeAndre Hunter, Max Strus starting at wing. So I am telling myself this is mega cope, but like in Cavs Thunder, there's actually not going to be a lot of good teams in those finals. So I'm going to build these teams where my 5th player sucks and my 6th player sucks, but I'm going to have a team that gets there, and I'm just going to hope that I have a top 3 team once I'm there, because I don't think there's going to be too many really good Cavs Thunder teams if that is the finals.
Mm-hmm. And on a personal level, knowing that I'm not going to put in the same type of volume that you're going to put in, I'm just not going to build those teams or try to build those teams, because I'm not going to chase that GM combo, right? And I'm going to find, who are the scroll the F down team that is, fractions of points different that could go on a run later.
Yep. Yeah. And that's always kind of, the decision you're making of like, are you chasing the unicorn team? Are you willing to burn, some entries as you hunt for that. I did kind of want to just have a little discussion about playing for first place. We always have this conversation. Sometimes something gets blown up and you're kind of forced to just say, hey, I'm going to try to salvage a min cash in here. I do think it's worth looking at how these prizes shake out. And I believe our min cash here is an $8 min cash. And I'm going to try to suss out here. So how many people in the finals we will have? Do you guys know how many?
310.
310. So if you make it to the finals, you're guaranteed 400. So a 40x on your entry fee. And then you're going to want to finish in the top 10 to win 5,000 or more. I guess my question is, have you had some situations where you felt like this team can't win in the finals, I'm going to pivot to salvage a min cash? Or are you kind of always thinking through the lens of, no, I want to get a team to the finals?
So when that happens, like I try to identify it really early and then pivot to like any given West team that I can still build out the best West lineup for. And then maybe just like this is what happens if that West team goes to the finals, because I feel like that is doing what you said. Like, okay, you get a chance at a min cash and you're still live for a big cash. Like I truly do think that the West is very open. So it's kind of the best of both worlds in that example, but that happens a lot when I'm building out Shea. Like I've got Shea in the Thunder and now I'm like, okay, there's nobody like I cannot build out a good Thunder team. Like somebody took J-Dub and Chet from me and I didn't go Hartenstein at the 2-3. He's gone before I'm up at the 4-5. I'm no longer building a Thunder's team anymore. Like it's just I'm going to a different West team, and it's like the best of both worlds in that example.
Yeah, Nick with the perfect example in the chat there. It's like that's the classic. Oh, we're just Clippers pivoting now. Like we're just Warriors pivoting now. Like we're just that's it. I do think the 1 out of 10 and the fact that min cash is only 8 instead of full money back there is just another reason to just shoot the moon with the majority of your builds. Like just from like a pure structural standpoint, that just screams to me like, yeah, we're shooting ceiling every single time here. That being said, we know the archetype of players that are available late in chasing points, and the difference between football and here is like football playing for the finals is oftentimes like taking a really low projected guy, whereas like playing for min cash here is taking a really high projected guy, but that high projected guy is also probably the guy you need in that 1 out of 10. So maybe it is just like a decent macro strategy. Do you guys get what I mean by that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, it does sound, it's to me, what I'm hearing is we kind of have these two competing factors. Like the lack of strength at the wing position makes drafting a lot of these teams hard and arguably less fun. But with how deep the West is and how many viable contenders there are, that kind of offsets it and reopens the draft board. Like if the West mirrored the East in that there was an equivalent of OKC and Cleveland, like this wouldn't be that fun of an exercise, I fear.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
No. Like the Thunder are like giga favorites, odds on, but I think there's way more contenders though. And I think if you go down the odds, you see that, but yeah.
I have some pulled up here. These are to win the championship. Let me do it by conference. That's a little bit better to do for Western Conference. So you have OKC at -125. So big favorites. And then the Nuggets plus 525, Lakers plus 650, Memphis plus 11. Sounds like Nez just found a bet he likes.
Yeah. Minnesota plus 4,000 is crazy.
Okay. You go.
That's crazy good value. Crazy good value. They're not even fully healthy right now, and they're beating the Thunder.
Okay.
All right. There you heard it. Go bet Minnesota Timberwolves plus 4,000. Not financial advice.
Yeah. Don't need KD, man. We got Jaden McDaniels.
That's right, dude. Jaden McDaniels is balling.
So why do you think? So obviously the betting market. So like to do comparables, right? It has the Celtics and Thunder as comparable faves, and then Cleveland is a much stronger favorite than the second in the West and the Nuggets. But the odds, Knicks at plus 700, like the odds don't seem to necessarily reflect the sentiment from you guys that this is way more wide open. Do you have any reason why that that might not be?
Pete, I'm sorry, I totally missed your question because the hoops guys in the chat are killing me right now with this the true hoop, knowing that you can wait for Randall to come back and you'll get an even better price on Minnesota.
God, man, too much. Julius Randle's gonna learn his place when he comes back, man. They're gonna put him in his place.
I had a string of drafting Julius Randle in the dailies, and then it was never again.
Yeah,
he was.
He's gonna learn his place. Ant's gonna if Ant can talk to former President Obama in that tone, I think he can talk to Randall in his own tone too. If you guys haven't seen that, I think for me, and this is like I'm trying to put myself in the minds of the odds here. I think it's because Shea is the MVP.
Okay.
And so they're like,
okay,
yeah, he's the MVP, man. Yeah, of course the Thunder are gonna be the favorites, man. The Thunder are deep. They've got the MVP. They have Chet. They have Hartenstein. But like in a playoff series, and Rinpak came on our show and made a similar statement, and I agree with him that like the West has teams that when you condense their rotations, I think can like put up a really, really good fight against the Thunder specifically. The Thunder, the second option on the Thunder is Jalen Williams, and pretty much every other team in the West that's going to face the Thunder has a better second option than the Thunder.
Yeah, from a true scoring perspective, for sure.
Correct.
Yeah. I guess the counter is that they're the youngest roster and they're the most defensively complete team maybe ever, but like not actually ever. But if you look at all the advanced dork metrics, people will tell you like, "Whoa, they're so good," kind of deal. But yeah, like just let me see that. Like theoretically, they're like set up well to contend with the Nuggets because of the play at the bigs there. But like, yeah, there's some other teams here that can run 3-man games with tight rotations that can for sure create in ways that they haven't seen all season long, you know?
And I assume there's still like, obviously we just had a huge trade with Lakers and Mavericks. You mentioned health issues, Mavericks, Timberwolves. I'm sure I'm forgetting another one here. Like, does seem like there's a lot more kind of uncertainty on like what the final form of these teams will look like.
I think that's what makes it really fun to speculate on, right? Like you can poke a hole in like all of these teams, even when they condense rotation, right? Nez, like Lakers have no 5. Well, that matches up terribly for playing against Joker. You know what I mean? So it's like, depending how these matchups can shake out, like, do you really want LeBron playing track meet series against Memphis, who's the fastest up-tempo team in the league? Probably not, right? Like,
yeah, the Lakers 650 odds, like, man, I don't have a lot of faith in the Lakers, but they continue to like defy what I believe are like the odds. Like they're playing so well right now, and like it just like I'm like, how is this really going to work in the playoffs with Jackson Hayes at the 5?
Right. Yeah. I mean that Mark Williams trade, like even though like people don't like him from a defensive standpoint and on paper the dorks will tell you it wasn't good, it would have done wonders for this team, I think. Right.
But they turned it away. I don't get it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's I was gonna ask you guys your favorite backdoor stack, that kind of emergency ripcord that you pull when T-Bear goes rogue and takes your Austin Reeves from you. Who do you guys find as like the comfiest backdoor?
Can we do this in 2 parts, Pete?
Yeah.
Can we do favorite backstack and then favorite like late advance rate pieces?
Yes, I love that.
Let's just completely mush all the edge.
Okay.
Cool.
I like that.
Yeah.
Let's do your favorite backstacks first, and then we can do an advance rate piece there. Who wants to go first?
Let's do it in okay, I think there's interesting ways to do this, Des. Do you want to do it in terms of like 2-man stacks or conference stacks? Yeah, okay, let's do it as conferences. Let's start in the West because we're kind of in agreement that the West is the more wide open of the two. I think the chalk one that everybody's gravitating towards right now is the Harden, Kawhi, and Zubac one. Like that 3-man seems underpriced relative to market, and it seems like the default that everyone goes to first. So let's start with that one.
Yeah, like that's a good answer. You have four draftable pieces there, and one is remaining.
Yeah, and for our audio listeners here, James Harden ADP 32.8, Kawhi 39.4, Zubac 49. So all very affordable there.
Yeah,
And
and
Norm
Norm
Powell.
Powell.
And Norm Powell.
Sorry, put some respect. 59.4 on Norman Powell.
Yes, that's a good answer. I will go ahead and say the Warriors. I think the Warriors are going to be a problem with the addition of Jimmy and this team getting healthy. And sneaky backstack option for the Warriors there. You see that fourth player there, Jonathan Kuminga, who will be coming back off an injury soon, just provides you another option at wing if you get this team to the finals and they do make the finals. I think the Warriors are going to be a problem during final series, and these are some. It's condensed fantasy scoring as well, specifically because if you are taking Draymond too, he doesn't need to put the ball in the hole to get his fantasy points. He's going to get assists, he's going to get boards, stocks, things like that. And so that allows Steph, Jimmy, and we'll see what happens when Kuminga comes back to kind of cook. This is a pretty dangerous team if in the playoffs.
Yeah, that's fun. Curry 37.9, Butler 44.9, Draymond 57.8, and Kuminga 59.8. I assume, is it basically anything with an ADP after 50 is just like free?
Essentially, yeah. Depending on who you're in the room with.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
Go Eastern?
No, I think there's a couple more in the West we can keep rattling off.
Okay, yeah.
As I was doing, we were both doing the T-Wolves one this morning because there's wing depth on the T-Wolves there. And basically nobody will start a T-Wolves team if they don't take Ant. So as long as you stamp of approval on Ant, you can kind of have any other piece you want. The other team with wing depth in the West that you can stake your claim early is you take Sengun, and then you can just have, Amen, sometimes people will fight you for it, but Fred VanVleet's free in the last round. Tari Eason, Cam Whitmore, it's scrolling the F down, but at least we know they have huge ceilings if that team pushes forward.
Nez, should Amen be going ahead of Sengun?
Probably, because he's a wing.
I know. I didn't even think of that. I was just trying to play to your
my interest
fandom. Yeah.
Yeah. Of course. No, I love Amen. I think Sengun is in a vacuum gonna outscore him fantasy point wise, but Amen being a wing, it definitely is a great play.
How about we just stay in the West? Then okay. Either other backstack teams or some of these advance rate pieces where you're kind of willing to sacrifice a potential finals matchup for the sake of getting these guys through some of these gauntlet rounds.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's really like wing, like it's kind of like advanced rate wings for me. So like Julius Randle, everyone's shitting on Julius Randle, but he's a wing and he puts up more points than most of these wings do, and he's available anytime that you want him. So I like Randle. And as far as an advanced rate piece and helping to build out these T-Wolves teams, and then 2 spots below him, PJ Washington. If the Mavericks can stay alive, make their way to the finals, PJ as a wing is a breath of fresh air down here, in a pretty good option.
It's nice really having. I was just gonna say it's nice this year, like having played dailies more, is because like you could tell like Julius Randle and PJ Washington can be guys that get drafted in like the 20s on a slate, if not a little higher on a shorter slate. Where I look at some of these other guys going around him, and it's like maybe on a short slate, Rui is a 6th rounder. Like right. It does help kind of put in the frame of reference of like what these guys are actually capable of in a single game.
Yes, it does.
What were you gonna say, John? I was doing the wing prioritizing stuff early. So when I was looking late, I wasn't looking for wing like help to advance. And I was finding myself a little behind the 8 ball with the bigs. So I actually did some cheeky Sabonis in the last round as a push through piece where it's just like, if they do find their way to a series, that's not a given. It's not a guarantee they'll make it through the play-in. But every single daily slate that we ever play with Sabonis, he's a top 6 pick, and they're in the thick of things to potentially get a series. Even if they get swept, I think he can still give you like 200 points. And because you prioritized like Giannis and Braun in the first 2 rounds there. Those are your advance rate wings. And then I needed to push through big. So just flipping the construction a little bit with a player archetype.
Yeah, again, that one makes sense, like you said, of guys down here who stand out, who are not normally going this late in just a daily draft. Nez, any other Western Conference advance rate pieces? I mean, we kind of hit on the Suns guys.
No, we got to move on, man. I'm tired of mushing the late round West pieces that I can draft.
Okay. Do you want to? Should we have Jewish McCaffrey put out a thread of his favorite late round pieces?
Yeah, all the players that I don't like.
Yeah, please don't, because that'll ruin all the picks.
He's on a Davis Maddock like run right now with his mushing powers.
It's incredible.
Yes,
he maxed early last night.
I drafted 100%. I woke up in the middle of the night and I had my alerts on for JMC tweets, and I saw that the Kawhi Leonard Q tag was fake, and my wife was like, "Why are you up, honey?" I was like, "I got to slam in 150 Kawhi Leonard teams right now." Jewish McCaffrey says the tag is fake, and it's an incredible ADP value, and now I'm poor.
Yes,
is what happened. All right, let's talk Eastern Conference, because this is a more interesting conversation. When we set it up with kind of how Nez was talking about the dynamics there. So, what is your break glass in case of emergency in the Eastern Conference?
Ooh, well, I'm not normally backstacking in the Eastern Conference, but the Magic I really like to take to help me get through. And this is I think this is a good team, the Orlando Magic, and Paulo and Franz are their best players, and they're both wings, and a lot of the time I need wing depth, and they're just there to help me. Now, taking both I think is pretty risky, because if the Magic lose round 1, I am dust. And if you as a reminder, it's kind of interesting. You only need one player from each position and then 2 flexes, so you really only need 1 wing. So like, you don't have to double up on both these Magic pieces. You can find another, if you need wing depth, find a different wing, and then that way you're alive for round 2 if you are like desperate need of help at wing. I think the Magic are like an actually good team in the East. The problem with the Magic is they need to get out of that 7 seed, because if they are in the play-in game and they have to face either the Cavs or the Celtics, if the Celtics are hang on to the 2 seed, which I think they will, that sucks. I want the Magic to be able to be alive in that 1 of 10 round. As of we really need them out of that round. But I think there's a chance. But they need Suggs back to help push them out of that 7 seed.
Yeah, they need to get that defense right with Suggs coming back. That on-ball defenders really hurt them. One problem with Magic too is they just play such low total games. So it's like, even if you do wind up getting, they push a team in the first round to like 6. Well, is that worth as much as like 5 from the Pacers? Would you rather have the Pacers losing in 5 or the Orlando losing in 6?
So I think it's more of a problem for their opponents than the Magic themselves.
Yeah,
like,
good point.
The Magic are like giga condensed. It's Franz and Paulo, and like maybe Suggs, and then a couple putbacks for Goga and Wendell Carter Jr. I have no problem with them as fantasy pieces themselves, personally.
Mm-hmm. I did a disgusting. Well, actually, one more thing on the Magic, especially with Franz coming back, the basketball teams that are around them in the standings right now are hella fragile, right? Like the Pistons have been on a nice run, but is that team longed for the postseason? We were singing Cade's praises, but yeah, I don't know that one. They're probably a better basketball team when Suggs comes back than the Pacers and the Pistons and the Hawks, who are right around them, right?
I 100% agree.
Yeah,
I think they're kind of dangerous.
I
just don't think that they're Cavs Celtics upset dangerous.
Mm-hmm. The one that I did this morning that might be absolutely disgusting was 4 late Heat. I did like 2 from the West, 2 from the West, 2 from the West. So it was actually an SGA team. So it was SGA, Chet, Jaw, and then JJJ came back. So I had the bigs, and then I did 3 Heat. I did Hero, Wiggins, Bam to round it out. And that was kind of like playing it through that angle. Yeah.
So I know there's never like hard and fast rules you can do with this stuff, but to kind of emphasize kind of how you're thinking about these East pieces relative to the West ones, like when you're building out those backdoor stacks in the West, you might take on 3-4 of those players from the same team being like, they can make the Western Conference Finals. When you're doing it with, say, the Magic or any of these non-top 2 teams, is it kind of like a max of 2 for you? Because you're like, maybe I bink the right matchup and they can play 2 rounds, but they're just not getting to the Eastern Conference Finals. Is that how you would think about it?
For the most part, yeah, that's typically how I'm playing it. There is another team too. Go ahead, John. I'll give you a chance to kind of.
I was just going to ask you, like, outside of the Cavs and the Celtics, who for you could make the Eastern Conference Finals?
I think the Knicks and Bucks could make it.
That's it? Just those 4?
It depending on how healthy the Magic are, I think that they could like make some noise. I don't think the Pistons can make the Eastern Conference Finals, and I don't think the Pacers can either. But the Pacers, they do have good players. Like they are a good team, but like I don't think that they could beat the Cavs or the Celtics.
Okay.
All right, who's the other team?
Yeah, the Pistons. The Pistons,
okay.
Man. Pistons are the hottest team in basketball right now. 7 straight wins for the Pistons. This was the loss leader last year in the NBA, and they're playing great ball. And if you want to get a team that can help you in that 1 of 10 round, it's the Pistons. If they can stay out of that 7 seed and then find themselves in a matchup against a beatable team, such as, I'm not sure who their matchup would be, but it would maybe be Knicks, Bucks, Pacers, like one of these teams that they would face potentially. I think that they can win and then give you points in that next 1 of 10 round. And Cade Cunningham, ADP 36, he's a top 5 pick any time that he's on the slate. Just a great option there to help you score points. And they've got a couple wings there. Tobias Harris, who doesn't really have a ceiling, but he's putting up 30 fantasy points in any game that they're playing. That can be somewhat helpful. And Asar Thompson, I think, is going to get major minutes come playoff time. They're kind of being careful with him at the moment. And he has big time stock upside with a high ceiling. So this is a team that I think can give you pretty strong contributions in that tough 1 of 10 round.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. And would you do any just like Cade one-off too, just with how so much production just flows through?
Definitely. Yeah, you don't necessarily have to double up on the Pistons, but yeah, Cade giving you points in round 1 and round 2 could be very, very helpful. He's hooping.
Yeah, another guy who, if you don't play the dailies regularly, a first round pick, at worst, like 1-2 turn type pick. Advance rate pieces. Anything you guys like doing here? I mean, we just mentioned Cade. I guess he can kind of qualify. I guess some of these guys can almost double up as advance rate pieces. The Magic wings.
Yeah. The East, pretty much everything we just said for the East is almost exclusively for me advanced rate pieces because I feel so strongly about the Cavs and the Celtics. Yeah.
Let's see, Nez. Do you have we did the plus 4,000 we liked on the Timberwolves. I mean, you're having to get real spicy here. Yeah, really different with it not being wide open. I mean, I guess your Pistons and Magic both here at plus 10,000.
Yeah, Magic at plus 10,000, I think, is a slap in the face to the Magic franchise.
Okay, I love it. Well, I have while we've been recording, I have placed bets on both the Magic and Timberwolves, so I'm tailing.
Let's go. Here. Let's go.
John, any other one-offs you want to talk about before I say we start drafting a little bit here?
No, I think that was a pretty comprehensive list there.
Beautiful. Yeah, good stuff. And, like I said, this contest is going to be open for another almost 2 months. So we'll definitely check in on it. I'd like to do a couple more shows. We can get some guests on. We're going to kind of alternate some of our programming here. And we'll definitely, this will not be the last playoff best ball show. Just wanted to, whet our appetites here. And I think we should get in and do a couple drafts right now. My first drafts, and you guys can kind of walk me through some of the decision points here.
Yeah, this will be fun. This will be fun. Everybody dreads not getting a top 3 pick, but maybe we can do this thing on hard mode, and looks like we will. So very fun.
I kind of like it. I kind of don't mind the other side of the board. I don't mind.
Of course you don't.
I don't mind it.
Well, we already know what John wants to do, and it's double tap the Lakers here.
I think we should try that. Yeah, assuming that somebody doesn't get a little antsy here and take one from us. But
yeah, I
did one waltz draft so far. Somebody put out a bat signal, and I was like, yeah, what the hell? And I got on the waltz, and I drafted that. This is the common term, like an absolute terrorist. Just because it's 250, and I'm like, let me just like try to get in the finals, and like maybe 4 players is what you need. And I drafted that pretty crazy, but yeah, I mean that it's 250 and
2-6, 2-6, 2-6, 8-seat final. Definitely encourages terrorist actions.
It does. And 8th place is $1,000. So it's I'm not maxing this thing.
Yeah. Let's see here. All right, yeah. So we're picking from the 6 hole here. We are in the dance, 50K, first place prize here, trying to get to the 310 person final. A lot of red badge bros in with us here. What other starts, Nez? You said you didn't like the this side of the board quite as much. Do you have any other go-to starts that you like to do?
Man, I pray that Donovan Mitchell falls. So I can do like Donovan Mitchell and Mobley. And then otherwise I try to do like, what if like the Celtics without Jason Tatum is what you need? Like try to build a Tatumless Celtics team just in case that happens to be what you need with Jaylen Brown and Kristaps. I was doing a lot of Knicks here, but I saw the Knicks go on a losing streak, so now I don't want them.
Let's push it.
You want to do Luka and LeBron?
Let's do Luka and Giannis and push it and see if we can get Braun back.
All right.
Des, you don't like that idea?
Let's do it.
All right, here we go. Giannis and Luka are who we start this team with here. That was I saw Easy mention something in the chat earlier, and it kind of dovetails with which of these top teams are you willing to build out without their alpha? So I think Easy was talking about it with Jokic, like if you'd be willing to play it. Obviously, you just mentioned, doing it with, I think people are willing to do it with the Celtics. How do you guys think about those dynamics?
I think only the Celtics and the Cavs. I wouldn't do it even with OKC. I wouldn't do it with Denver.
I would have to write out some combinations that are possible with OKC, but I do tend to agree with you. It's just that like guard is deeper, so I'm like, can it really not be done with OKC? But maybe you're probably right there. I think there is an example that like, man, if you do Nuggets and Cavs, and you get the top Cavs pieces without Jokic, like what are the Jokic teams with the Cavs pieces look like, and how do those compare? I think that's an interesting, I would just have to look at the combinations and the true like 5v5 that you're dealing with there. But that's like the only, I think, option, or the only way that you could really make that work. I would have to think about a Celtics Nuggets too, but like for the most part, I don't know how a Nuggets finals wins without Jokic though. I struggle to see that. I'm just kind of thinking about it.
So LeBron is not going to come back to us. He goes at 14 to the Nuggets drafter who started Jokic and Jamal. We have the 1 hole who started Shea and Chet with OKC, came back with Mobley. Rocket Sauce building out Celtics with Tatum and Derek White, and then Jalen Williams. On the bring back, we'll see what the 4 hole does here. Started Donovan Mitchell and Cat. What do you guys think about the early starts from the same conference? Any issues with that kind of stuff? Lakers with Denver, Knicks with Cleveland. Any issues there?
I don't. Let's see here.
Sorry. So we got Luka and Giannis. Do we have to take Lillard with one of these picks?
I would take Dame and Ant. What would you do, Jez?
Definitely Dame. The Lakers are out of the question here, so we're building out East. Ant gives us, a West option with the Wolves, and we'll have a lot of back end East pieces. Yeah, no, I think Ant's the pick.
Done. So we start Luka and Giannis get sniped on LeBron, or I should say our prayer doesn't come true. And then we get Lillard and Ant here coming back around.
So yeah, I don't quite understand the Spida Cat Brunson at the 4 hole there. Don't love that. Will probably not do that. I think there's a lot of good bigs that you can get points from if you're trying to find advanced rate. Well, I guess it's advanced rate. Donovan Mitchell here. He might be auto drafting. Strange start. Very strange start there. 2 Knicks, 2 Cavs. I like Rocket Sauce's start. And the 2 hole, we'll see how he lands the plane, but advanced rate LeBron isn't like the worst idea.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's probably easier to excuse almost any semi-rogue pick if it's at the wing position. Is kind of what we've established. Yeah.
Yes.
I'm kind of interested. What would you do if you're the 4 hole right now? So you play the East through 2 pieces like that.
Yeah.
And then you just shut it down in the East, and now you build out, Clippers or Warriors is easiest now.
So he doesn't have Jared Allen as the big, so he's going to need a West big to help with that Cavaliers start. So yeah, you probably just removing all East teams at this point and getting some Clippers in here. Maybe Rockets. Fighting with us. Yeah, Rockets he should definitely be looking at Rockets.
Yeah. You go Almond and Sengun with this, and you fill a wing and you fill a big. Or you do Kawhi and Zubac.
What, as far as our team from a wing perspective, obviously we have Giannis. Is this a spot, like, have you rocked solo Giannis solo wing Giannis teams? Is that viable? Or are you always trying to kind of get a second?
I think it's so easy to tack on Kuzma that you may as well. That's what I've been doing. But we also, with the Ant stuff, we have Randall at our or McDaniels at our available to us.
I put Reeves in the queue. Tell me if that's not direction you guys would go here.
I would get a second West team and go Şengün, Thompson.
Yeah, me too. Agreed.
Okay, let go of the
Lakers.
You just play Lakers as a one-off now. And nobody's going to take Kuzma and Lopez from us, and they're kind of just like penciled in on this team right now.
And nobody might take Reeves either. There's a chance Reeves falls back, and then we're just like, well, now we can maybe find a way to make it work.
So we got Giannis and Ahmed Thompson. Now at wing, we got our 3 guards, Luka, Dame, and Ant, and then Sengun here, our first big. 2 Rockets, 2 Bucks, 1 Laker, 1 Timberwolf.
And what's nice too is, like John was mentioning, Kuzma is available late. There's 2 more Bucks that are going to be available for us for free at the end of this draft. And now we are, alive for that Bucks Lakers final still, if because Reese goes, because I think that guy's just auto drafting.
And at this point, like, despite your kind of belief that it's Cavs, Celtics or bust, I mean, we now firmly live in a reality where we need the Bucks to make the finals. Yeah.
And I mean, obviously those are my thoughts, but like it wouldn't obviously be impossible for the Bucks to make a run. I mean, they've got Dame, and they're going to have 2 of the best players on the court at any given time. 2 of some of the best, at least, any given time.
Austin Reeves, whenever we talk about a guy coming back, he goes in the next 2 picks. Solo Reeves as his 5th.
Auto drafters are brutal, man.
What a weird contest to auto draft. The lobby right now is full of NBA contests. You could go auto draft in better fashion.
Top of the queue.
So we have 4 more picks here. Is there any new teams we would think about adding, or are we kind of locked in to the teams at this point?
I'd rather lock in on our West teams that we're building out. And really it's like these remaining Timberwolves pieces. Yeah. Normally said with big bold letters.
I was gonna
whispering
say
this time.
His name has never been whispered before.
Yeah,
you
never
shouted
once.
From the mountain types. All right, so what would this be? Do you guys like?
You could also do Ant Kyrie or AD, right? AD Kyrie, that'd be crazy. Or AD PJ.
That's still available.
Yeah, AD. Well, I don't know if Kyrie's.
No, Kyrie's not available.
Kyrie's gone.
Okay, so who should I
think so.
Green. No, Kyrie's here. Do you want to do that?
Do Kyrie. Let's do it. Let's do another duo.
Let's have fun.
Okay.
And then now we're just like doing kind of what we said, except with the Bucks here, where we're just like, playing, musical chairs with these West teams, keeping ourselves alive for a number of different West versus Bucks finals. And, these are all really strong fantasy pieces at the same time.
Because I was going to say, we're gonna essentially have the top 2, or in the case of the Lakers, the top option on all of these teams that we're building around.
Yeah. Yep. So we're basically just playing Bucks finals from the East, and then playing Whack-A-Mole West here, which is funny because when we were kind of like halfway, I thought about this team being T-Wolves and Bucks, and kind of more concentrated to like 3-3. And now we're going to end up with 1 T-Wolf.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. because we're going to
finish
for
2 Bucks.
Yeah.
I think we're going to have to, if we want to keep ourselves alive for that Lakers Bucks, unless we wanted to say like, Luka's advance rate, then we would go, Naz Reid, Milwaukee Buck. But yeah, I think 2 Bucks is the move.
Yeah. Cause you want to maximize having all of those different finals outs with the duos.
I think so.
Or with the Luka.
Yeah. Right. Especially because we're pretty good on advancing. We have a bunch of first top 2 round daily basketball players on this team.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. The other angle that Easy's putting in the chat there that kind of makes sense too is you could take 1 Buck and 1 Wolf, or you could take PJ Washington now too, and like backstack it like that. But I think
it's just a matter of whether or not you like if like I don't hate
it's a preference thing now.
Yeah, it's like, what would you rather do? Would you rather like have like a sick Wolves Bucks final if that's the final, or maybe or have this Lakers team without LeBron and Bucks Lakers?
Fuck the Lakers. I just bet the T-Wolves at plus 4,000 to win the Western Conference Finals. Motherfucking Reed!
Yes. That's going to be a clip whenever they make it to the finals. No,
it's possible.
We did it. I agree. I would agree with your thought there.
Okay, so
Naz Reid and who? Do you do PJ? Then
okay, let's think about this.
Or would
this have to be Brooke Lopez to give ourselves?
Because we're good. We have 3. Naz Reid.
Okay, no, we're good because we're only playing Rockets, Mavericks, T-Wolves with our Bucks final. So we're all those 3 teams have our bigs. We're not playing Lakers, so we're good. We don't need Brooke Lopez. We're good.
So then who do you take with this?
PJ
or Kuzma?
If we do PJ, are we still live for Rockets and Bucks?
Well, then we only have 4, right? We only have 4, 2 Bucks, 2 Rockets.
I would say Kuzma, because then that still gives us 5 for the Mavericks final.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Kuzma's playing mad minutes, so I'm cool with it.
And this team, like, it's dead on arrival if the Bucks aren't going on a run too. So I think getting a 3rd piece from that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. It makes total sense. That was fun.
Yeah. Here's go ahead, John.
No, I was gonna say the fun difference between the playoff format and like the regular season format, like the double dribble that just advanced, is like you can you're way more likely to flex some of these sweet bigs. Whereas like in the regular season one, like all the bigs will just like run off early and you're not looking to like draft 3 or 4 bigs. I think it's like perfectly fine to draft 3 or 4 here because you can flex 2 of them.
100%.
Yeah. It's like
in the rankings, it's honestly like a bug that, so like, you can set positional limits for guard, wing, and big. You can only do 4 bigs max here and like 7 for guard and wing when you're starting the same amount. So like, you can go heavy on big here.
Yeah.
Real quick, aside from the meme equity, you guys think ADP is just bad with Rudy over Nas?
I think Rudy will have a higher mean projection every time out, and I think Rudy is kind of like, we're just taking Nas Reed because he's like more fun and has a higher ceiling output in terms of like bands of projection. If this team goes nuke, it's probably because Nas Reed had to go nuke, not because Rudy Gobert started scoring again. Because the reality of the whole team being healthy and Randall coming back is Rudy Gobert goes back to being what he was at the start of the season, which was just like 28 to 32 fantasy points every single night without touching the ball on offense.
I think Rudy's the better pick. I mean, or Nas. Sorry. Scratching from the record. I was looking at Rudy. Nas is the better pick. He should be going ahead of Rudy.
Okay.
Yeah.
So here's how this team ended up. 4 guards, Luka, Dame, Ant, and Kyrie. 3 wings, Giannis, Amen, and Kuzma. And then 3 bigs, Şengün, AD, and Nas Reed. So we have the 3 pieces from Milwaukee. That's our only team in the Eastern Conference. We have 1 off Luka. We have Edwards and Nas Reed. We have AD and Kyrie, and then Şengün and Amen for a bunch of duos there. So
fun.
Very, very fun. And so now Luka in this, we're not live, or I mean, we're still live. Technically, we wouldn't be able to field a full starting lineup for Lakers and Bucks, but then those other 3 teams, we would be in very good shape for a Bucks final with them.
Yeah, and the Lakers are almost certainly winning round 1 in the playoffs. So having Luka in that 1 of 10 round is going to be massive for this team.
Yeah,
right.
Pretty good shout from Jump Free, like the way rotations condense and way matchups govern, like how guys will get played off the floor and stuff like that, is like playing small and stuff. That's going to be a fun thing to dive into in like 2 or 3 weeks from now when we see some of the matchups starting to solidify. I mean, we won't know for certain because of the play-in tournament, but we can somewhat forecast in a little bit of regard there as to like what teams are going to play small versus each other, what will play big, and yeah.
You guys want to do one more?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's see if we can get an early slot.
The other one that I wanted to bring up, just because we were building Bucks there, I think there's a 0% chance Bobby Portis comes back, right? 25 games, it's 50 some odd. Does that make him playoff ineligible by getting suspended? Because like I know in baseball, if he gets like suspended, then he's playoff ineligible. Is that a thing in basketball?
I don't think so. Because it's not performance enhancing. It was just little painkiller. Wasn't even a strong one.
Just a little tramadol.
Eligible to return April 8th. So he is playoff eligible.
Yeah.
Just an interesting little wrinkle. I mean, he hasn't, since Kuzma's been back, he's been primarily off the bench role and whatever. It's probably not relevant, but it's just throwing it out there.
Yeah.
I was not able to will an early draft slot. In fact, we are drafting from the same draft slot. So I thought it'd be fun to just draft the exact same team and kind of explain. Jokes aside on that, I mean, there are those, we've talked about this with NFL, where pod luck, especially that 1 of 10, like you could draft 2 of these exact same teams, get them both to the 1 of 10, and one of them makes them because you're not facing a wagon and another does it. So it's not the worst thing in the world to double, triple, whatever up on some of these teams that you really like.
Yeah, I mean, not to open sore wounds, but to open sore wounds. Like I happened to sneak through a gauntlet team that scored 4 less points than my friend Peter, and my friend Peter.
Yeah, you know, just a little 0.3 $46,000 swing, but we've moved on. What do you want to do here?
let's switch this up and let's go full chalk donk stuff and let's go Boston and OKC to start double wings and see what it looks like.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, it's on a different build.
Like,
so
yeah. We'll give this guy the Giannis Luka beside us. J Cam's a nice guy. He can have it. Oh, he's doing the Braun thing.
Yeah.
That's fun. The new meta.
I don't hate this start at all. It's such a tough spot drafting at the 1-6. I think you might as well do something like this just in case the board or in case the room gives you something nice.
Oh, the Joker Giannis start. He passes on it. Oh.
Dude, the Bucks suck. Like, I'm not worried about that.
The Bucks are nice, man. They
know they're not.
don't play.
They're
and they
trash,
both played 40.
Nez wasn't phased, and John just acted like a crime was committed.
The GM of all GMs.
No, dude, the Bucks are so unserious.
But Wing's so thin that even just knowing I'm going to get one series of Giannis, even if it's just five games, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, Mike brings up an okay point in the chat too there, or a good point. The injury concerns are real with the calf and the minutes restriction. I guess it's important to note that Giannis has been on a minutes restriction since the All-Star break, didn't play in the All-Star game, and then he's been slowly ramped up again. So, yeah, I mean, it is real, but fucking Giannis in the playoffs, man.
And this guy says, give me Cade Cunningham. I don't need Jamal Murray. I want that advance rate Cade Cunningham.
The Pirate King is indeed the captain now in this draft. All right, we are about to pick. We'll see. Okay, the Luka LeBron team goes Dame. Is Hartenstein one of these picks?
Hartenstein East. What do you want to do here, John? Do you want to go Grizzlies pivot?
I think Hartenstein's a must. Like the fact that we started with.
And what are we building with? Then what else are we doing with Thunder? I think you go John Morant.
Okay.
I think you just abandon ship on the Thunder.
Okay, pull what we did with Luka, where you just play it as the one advanced piece.
What are you seeing here?
Well, I just thought this. I saw this as the chalk outcome, in that you're going to build two, and then you scroll for a Boston.
We needed a Boston faller. We needed Derek White to fall, and he didn't fall. So I was going to say JJJ here.
Okay.
Sure.
That's a good talk. Someone in the chat was wondering, noticed that we had, I don't think, said a word about the Grizzlies through all of our intro, playoffs, specifics. Any reason they got glossed over?
I mean, like the Grizz could be really fun when we get to the playoff, when they finally condense their rotation, because we know they have upper echelon, like fringe superstar talent, like that sort of deal, in Ja, JJJ, and Bane. And the problem with us in the daily streets right now is like they all just play 30 minutes a night, and they're all just, kind of middling, and they run the rotation 11, 12 deep. And the strength of their ball club is playing fast and running the rotation super deep. And we kind of want to concentrate around outlier star potential in this format. And I guess the Ja JJJ isn't as sexy as even scrolling to Kawhi and Harden, or these known and noted playoff performers.
They're not exactly a backstack either. Like we just started this at the 3-4 turn, so they're not necessarily as cheap as these other East pieces. And I'm normally trying to like continue out like the best East pieces possible whenever they start to go. But I think they're a really good team. It's just like John said, like they play so deep right now. Will they condense in the playoffs and just continue with their best foot forward? It's remained to be seen. And they also don't have like any wings either. So like that's really tough. Like if you're building out Grizz and Cavs, like the wing piece is going to be so weak from there.
Brandon Clark, no matter what.
Drew Holiday, Desmond Bain. Any other one-offs I should be thinking about? What do you guys think?
I like Bain and Holiday.
Is Hallie still there?
He is.
Let's do Pacers in the East.
Bain and okay. Let's go Bain.
Bain.
I was gonna say okay. I was gonna say Siakam, Hallie, and push Bain.
Oh, sorry. Did he get it? Let's go.
Oh yes.
Okay.
All right. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Let's push Bane.
Yeah, and then you do Siakam, Holly, and then you push Bane because nobody's going to start Memphis without the 2 Memphis guys. Gives you East.
I was really thinking Drew because we're kind of playing. We kind of had Memphis and Celtics there, and Drew would have been a viable Celtic to go there.
Yeah, but we could just take Peyton Pritchard in the last round or something like that if you want to build out that. I mean, it's not created equal, but how many minutes is he going to play less than Drew in a playoff series?
Yeah. I don't think it's a crazy idea since we have it. But that was a nice save there.
Because I think we're trying to shoot the moon here as like Memphis is now our bet. Like Memphis wins the West, and now we're doing like skinny stacking East, which is like the inverse of how we like to build, right?
Mm-hmm. It's funny too because I want to say the Grizzlies and the Pacers are like the 2 viable teams that we have not discussed yet throughout the show. We somehow have landed on in this draft.
Yeah. I think this speaks volumes to why you would rather start the 6 hole instead of the OKC Boston stuff. It speaks volumes to why you'd rather start with Luka Braun.
Oh, from the 6 hole.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about from the. Okay. Yeah. No.
So makes sense. Bane is still here.
Yeah.
We did lose out on Drew.
Yeah, that's okay.
What do you guys think with
we could take 1 wing from the Magic, or we could take like Miles Turner or something.
We don't need a Magic wing. We're loaded at wing.
Okay.
All right,
Miles Turner, I think, would be the second pick in my opinion.
Just to double down on Indy.
Yep.
And get a big. Okay.
And we're going to scroll down for TJ McConnell to sign up his set.
This is the long con. All he wanted to do was draft TJ on this team. God damn. How did I not see that coming?
Performer, wrap it up, condensed rotations, 28 minutes for TJ.
John, let's say you maxed the dance. How many teams would have TJ McConnell on it?
I will freely admit, unless there's an injury prior to leading up to the finals and stuff, I think I would have. Okay, I'd have 1 for the bid.
You'd have to maximize your bid equity. You know, you get all the badges. It's a friends and family in there. Maybe it's a stream draft. You know, and you're not on the stream. You know, maybe Davis is doing one of his dance drafts, and you go ahead and sneak in a little 6-round TJ McConnell there for the lulls.
6 round.
Oh, sorry.
Get it early.
Daily braid. 10th round.
I know.
10th round.
That's funny.
Okay, so how do we land this plane best then? As like, I'm not sure it's worth taking a 4th Memphis piece.
If it isn't, then do you want to take Pritchard?
Yeah, well, I think Pritchard's preloaded right now unless he gets sniped.
Yeah, you never know, man. T-Bear is the reason why his ADP is above 50. Dude, he takes him in the 6th round.
T-Bear Pritchard.
T-Bear's a
right in the chat. Right in the chat, right there, Terrence. Payne Pritchard's falling.
It comes down to horses, buddy. And Payne Pritchard is a goddamn Clydesdale.
Oh my god! So yeah, if we can get Pritchard, would like him here, and then after that, man, it's kind of wide open.
All right, so we'll put Pritchard in the queue. So we have 2 Boston, we have 3 Indianapolis. So we're live for Memphis with either Celtics or Pacers.
Yep.
But we're not live for an OKC unless we were to add a 4th Pacer.
You could also do 4th Memphis and add Bam, and then you're live for like a Heat, like something gross like that.
We're doing Pritchard.
Okay, yeah.
I think if you want to add a second OKC and just draft the worst OKC thing in the world, do like Wiggins or Caruso.
Yeah. Or Lou Dort's gonna just play a shit ton of minutes, but
like this is a luxury pick.
Which OKC
like the
player?
Cornette shout in the chat.
No.
Quick.
Lou Dort.
Oh God.
He got it.
There you go.
Wow, what a buffer.
Wow. I mean, Lou Dort's going to start every single night, and he's got stock potential. He plays a shit ton. Is the thesis here? Wiggins.
I think Caruso is going to get up there too in minutes, but Lou Dort, we've seen it at least for sure.
He has his own drop on Zakarian's show, and that has to be
my god,
or something.
The king of drops, man. That I love it. There's so many good drops on Zakarian's NBA show.
All right, so here's this final team: 5 guards, 3 wings, 2 bigs. Ja, Tyrese. Who's no one in their lives has called him Tyrese. Halliburton, Desmond Bane, Peyton, the Horse Pritchard, Lou Dort, and then our wings: Jaylen Brown, Jalen Williams, and Siakam. Bench. Our bigs: Jaren Jackson and Turner. We have 3 Indy, 3 Memphis, 2 OKC, and 2 Boston there. What do you guys think of how this one shook out?
I much prefer the first one, just because of I think you can figure it out on the fly way better when you don't play those 2 chalk start teams, because you kind of get left with these dumpster fire add-ons, right? This was a tough draft.
Yeah, I would probably, if I could do it back, and Nick mentioned in the chat, of course, do Jaylen Brown and Kristaps instead of doing J-Dub with this one, and then just play, like fade Thunder. That's kind of like the TLDR of all this is like, you just got to fade the Thunder and hope they don't make it out of the West, because it's so hard to build a good team if by trying to play the Thunder arms race.
Yeah, well said.
It kind of goes back to that dynamic we were saying of how many eggs are you willing to crack while chasing the perfect OKC omelet? If you have the stomach for that, you can, or you just lock up your guy, right? You're just saying, I'm going to do Brown and Kristaps here. I know I'm leaking a little ADP value, but I'm going to build a coherent team that does what I want it to do.
You're going to build a better team.
Yeah. All right, guys, this was fun. As always happens with these. These were my first drafts, but will not be my last. And I say here in another, I could see us doing 2 more dance theme shows, one in the middle in March, and then another kind of when we get the firmed up playoff bracket. So make sure you guys are subscribed. I know some of you are watching on the Badge Bros channel. If you're watching on my channel, I assume you guys as well will have some other Badge Bro dance content between now and then. Let the people know what they can get from you guys over on your channel coming up.
Yeah, I mean, Nez has already done one behind the paywall when the contest initially dropped there, so kind of got some evergreen stuff there. If you go check out the members only section on that, we will definitely be running this back, maybe on a weekly, maybe on a bi-weekly basis there, Nez, that we will be kind of continually keeping up with the shifting landscape of this contest. And then if you guys are members of our channel and you're hanging out here, you'll get redirected to the next stream, which I'm going to do about an hour of baseball here. And our guy Easy DFS is going to jump on with me.
Nice. Tune in for that if you guys are membies. As for me, we'll have lulls on Thursday, ship chasing with Pat as well. And I just booked Cooter Doodle for After Dark on Friday. Yeah, I want to get the her trip recap from all of her Super Bowl week adventures. So that's gonna be funny. Yeah, I think that's it. We'll be back. Like I said, our new time slot, Tuesdays at 1:30. There was a comment at the very top of the show, which is it doesn't have very off and on the clock vibes. Tuesday at 1:30. The show was initially scheduled for Friday afternoons. So yes, your note is heard. But I'd like to think, I think you just start putting this on your calendar and you punch out of work at 1:30.
When I was in the office, Tuesdays were always my least favorite days. I always said Tuesdays were the real Mondays. Mondays, you come in refreshed, motivated to do work. Tuesday feels like middle of the week hell. So I think we're doing people favors here by giving you some good Tuesday content. If you feel you feel me, give a hell yeah.
Hell yeah, Nez. All right. Catch us in the Discord as well. Deposit Kingdom Discord down below. All kinds of Badge Bros channels for all of the different sports. We will see you guys next time on Off and On the Clock.